Sight for Wight Talking News for Friday the 8th of January 2021.
Alison reading from the Island Echo. Reasons you can leave the home under third lockdown. Island Echo has put together an easy-to-read, exhaustive list of all the reasons you are permitted to leave your home address during this third national lockdown, known as a reasonable excuse. As the island's leading news website, Island Echo, has been inundated with questions and comments about trips outside of the home, it is important to note that if it is not included below, it is not allowed. You can only leave the house for the following reasons. Work. You can only leave home for work purposes where it is unreasonable for you to do your job from home, including but not limited to people who work within critical national infrastructure, construction, or manufacturing that require in-person attendance. Volunteering. You can also leave home to provide voluntary or charitable services. Essential activities. You can leave home to buy things at shops or obtain services. You may also leave your home to do these things on behalf of a disabled or vulnerable person or someone self-isolating. Education and childcare. You can only leave home for education, registered childcare, and supervised activities for children where they are eligible to attend. Access to education and children's activities for school-aged pupils is restricted. People can continue existing arrangements for contact between parents and children where they live apart. This includes childcare bubbles. Meeting others and care. You can leave home to visit people in your support bubble if you are legally permitted to form one, to provide informal childcare for children under 14 as part of a childcare bubble, for example to enable parents to work and not to enable social contact between adults, to provide care for disabled or vulnerable people, to provide emergency assistance, to attend a support group of up to 15 people, or for respite care, where that care is being provided to a vulnerable person or a person with a disability, or is a short break in respect of a looked-after child. Exercise. You can continue to exercise alone, with one other person, or with your household or support bubble. This should be limited to once per day, and you should not travel outside your local area. You can travel a short distance within your area to do so if necessary, for example, to access an open space. Medical reasons. You can leave home for a medical reason, including to get a COVID-19 test, for medical appointments and emergencies. Harm and compassionate visits. You can leave home to be with someone who is giving birth, to avoid injury or illness, or to escape risk of harm, such as domestic abuse. You can also leave home to visit someone who is dying, or someone in a care home, if permitted under care home guidance, hospice or hospital, or to accompany them to a medical appointment. Animal welfare reasons. You can leave home for animal welfare reasons, such as to attend veterinary services for advice or treatment. Communal worship and life events. You can leave home to attend or visit a place of worship for communal worship, a funeral or event related to a death, a burial ground or a remembrance garden, or to attend a wedding ceremony. You should follow the guidance on the safe use of places of worship and must not mingle with anyone outside of your household or support bubble when attending a place of worship. Weddings, funerals and religious, belief-based or commemorative events linked to someone's death are all subject to limits on the numbers that can attend, and weddings and civil ceremonies may only take place in exceptional circumstances. Property. You can leave your home to carry out activities related to buying, selling, letting or renting a residential property. There are further reasonable excuses. For example, you may leave home to fulfil legal obligations or to vote in an election or referendum. Police across the country have the power to fine citizens who are outside for reasons other than those listed in this article. If you fail to comply with their order to return home, you could be arrested. The government's instructions are not requests, it is law. You can be given a fixed penalty notice of £200 for the first offence, doubling for further offences up to a maximum of £6,400.
This is Den reading from the Isle of Wight radio. Isle of Wight MP sends urgent letter about vaccination rollout. The island's MP has sent an urgent letter to the Health Secretary about the vaccine rollout programme on the Isle of Wight. Speaking exclusively to Isle of Wight radio on Thursday, Bob Seeley MP said the new coronavirus variant is worrying and spreading at an alarming rate. According to Mr Seeley, around 3,500 to 4,000 islanders have now been vaccinated on the island, but he says he is concerned that we are behind Hampshire in the rollout. 300 health workers at St Mary's Hospital have also been vaccinated. He has now written to the Health Secretary on the Isle of Wight to suggest the island gets an additional vaccination team or a mobile vaccination site. In a letter to Matt Hancock, seen by Isle of Wight radio, Mr Seeley said, "While Hampshire has done very well in terms of vaccination numbers, well above the national average, our vaccination rates on the island are lower than Hampshire. Therefore, I fear a perfect storm of a small hospital, rising infections, an old population, and a slower vaccination process." He's also questioning whether the island should now receive additional help and suggested local pharmacies could get involved in the rollout. After this month, January, the Riverside Centre in Newport will inoculate 500 people a day, joining other sites across the island involved in the vaccine programme.
This is an article from the Island Echo, read by Terry. Keep warm, keep well. Message from the Footprint Trust. The Footprint Trust has issued some key tips to keep warm, well, and save both energy and money this winter. Island resident and national heat hero Ray Harrington Vale, who works for the local Footprint Trust charity, says, "There is lots of advice given over social media about saving energy and keeping warm, but not all of it is correct and some just repeats old myths. One is that most of your body's heat escapes through your head. It doesn't. Only about 10% is lost through your head. Wearing a hat is a good idea, but more important, wear layers of clothing. Another one is that most of the heat escapes from the roof or windows of your home. Both wrong. Walls account for around 33% of heat loss, roof about 26% and windows about 18%. Good idea to insulate the whole house to really save money, the cost paid back in 5 years. Double glazing a good idea, but payback will take much longer, but will also make your home more secure. Real tips to save energy, save money and keep well. The right temperature. The debate about what temperature to keep your home is repeated every winter. Ideally, you should try and keep some heating in all rooms. This helps prevent damp. But if you are on a limited budget, then this is unrealistic. If you're fit and young, then the NHS suggests that you do not need to keep your home at a minimum of 18 degrees centigrade. In fact, they suggest babies and your children's bedroom should be between 16 and 20 degrees centigrade. Young children can be put in danger from overheating. For older people or for those with medical issues, then keeping their living space and bedroom between 18 and 21 degrees centigrade is recommended. Lock the heat into your living space and bedroom. Don't waste money heating the hall or corridor. Keep doors closed. Ventilation. For rooms not being used, then keep the heat on low, leave cupboard doors and drawers slightly open to allow airflow. Try to open the window for a 10-minute spell every day to ventilate vacant rooms. Ventilation must also be thought of to reduce infection levels in the home from flu or airborne viruses such as COVID. Regular airing of inhabited rooms by opening windows for short periods of time can be effective at reducing concentrations of viruses in the air. SAGE have suggested having them open for 10 minutes every hour. Gas versus electric. If you have gas central heating, use it. Don't be fooled by marketing spin that electric heating is cheaper. It isn't. Likewise, with night storage heaters, don't use more expensive standalone heaters and avoid unvented portable gas heaters. Get a carbon monoxide alarm for each room with a gas appliance, boiler or solid fuel burner. Have your boiler serviced every year to keep you safe, save energy and to make it last longer. Close those curtains. Some of Grandma's old tips are as relevant today as they were yesterday. So, closing thick curtains at dusk will help prevent heat loss through windows. We now also have the option of fitting much cheaper thermal blackout blinds, which can be purchased from a number of online retailers. Charity shops can be a good place to find thick curtains when they reopen. Making a door sausage to prevent drafts from blowing under your door is a winner. These can be made from a leg of an old pair of jeans or trousers, then stuffed with other old rags. Warm home discount. The Footprint Trust tells hundreds of islanders every year about the £140 warm home discount. Those receiving guaranteed pension credit automatically get this sum taken off their electricity bill, providing they are with a leading supplier. Other householders have to apply to their energy company, so important to contact your utility company and see if you qualify. Other free help is also available from water and energy companies through their Priority Services Register. This is for any household that has a vulnerable person living there. In the event of power or water failure, you will be contacted to see if you need help. This can be done online at https://www.ssennfernelly.co.uk/PSR/Southern Water, all one word, / or by phone on 0800 294 3259. Supporting local residents. The Footprint Trust charity has been helping local people throughout the pandemic via its helpline on 01983 822 282. They have provided over £10,000 worth of grants to help people with energy issues. Their work is funded by a number of bodies, including the National Lottery Community Fund, Energy Industry Voluntary Redress Scheme, HM Government, and the Hampshire and Isle of Wight Community Foundation. Individual donations and those from the business community have also assisted their work.
Alison reading an article from On the Wight entitled Isle of Wight Council Sets Strategy for Island to Become CO2 Net Zero in 9 years. The Council's own carbon footprint is less than 1% of the island's overall emissions, so businesses and households will need to play their part too. After declaring a climate emergency and with an aim to achieve net zero carbon by 2030, plans are being made to help the Isle of Wight combat climate change. Following a climate motion in 2019 to bring the Isle of Wight Council's attention to the ever-pressing matter of climate change and global warming, the Council started drafting a climate and environment strategy. The draft strategy sets out key activities the Council can take to fulfil its duties and reduce the island's carbon footprint. Actions undertaken by the Council to minimise its own carbon footprint include reducing office space, purchasing electric vehicles, and switching to LED streetlights. The Council's own baseline carbon footprint has reduced approximately 65%, from 11,568 tonnes of carbon dioxide in 2009-10 to 4,077 TCO2e, that is carbon dioxide equivalent, in 2018-19. A study performed last year for the Council by Regen, energy experts, based on the 2017 emission statistics, found the Isle of Wight's total carbon footprint to be 506,900 TCO2e. The three biggest contributors to the island carbon footprint then formed 75% of total emissions. Commercial and industrial accounting for 26%, transport 25%, and domestic heating 24%. To meet the target of net zero emissions by 2030, the Environment Strategy says the Isle of Wight will need to reduce and offset carbon emissions by an average of 12.8% per year. If the Council were to offset, plant trees or create new woodland for example, the entire 2017 carbon footprint, approximately 2.5 million trees would have to be planted. If the Council were to eliminate 85% of emissions by 2030 and offset the further 15%, approximately 760 hectares or 760 rugby pitches worth of tree coverage would need to be planted. Pathways are being discussed to achieve the net zero target, primarily focusing on reducing emissions with a small amount of offsetting taking place. The Council has said, while it can decrease its own carbon footprint, it only accounts for less than 1% of the island's overall emissions. The strategy says widespread behaviour change will be necessary across the island if the target is to be met in the next 9 years, with major changes to energy use and production, housing and transport and its supporting infrastructure required. As part of the Isle of Wight Council's actions to reduce its emissions, the strategy plans to divest from the use of fossil fuels, making sure council buildings are entry efficient and use renewable energy, as well as potentially introducing new planning conditions to protect the natural environment. For the island as a whole, The strategy lays out steps to encourage active travel to reduce vehicle use, increase learning about climate change, and reduce fuel poverty on the island. Target dates for the net zero goal are to be submitted to the full council for review early this year, with the draft plan being considered at a meeting of the Policy and Scrutiny Committee for the Neighbourhoods and Regeneration on Thursday the 7th of January.
This is Howard reading an article from the Isle of Wight County Press. Islanders are being urged to use the latest national lockdown to review and reset their behaviours amid soaring cases of COVID-19. Isle of Wight Council leader Dave Stewart is calling on residents to redouble their efforts and follow the national lockdown rules to stop the spread of the new, more transmissible variant of the virus, which threatens to overwhelm local health and care services. We must strive to do everything in our power to prevent local services reaching capacity as they have elsewhere, said Mr. Stewart. The outcome is in our hands, and we must grasp this opportunity to defeat the virus and rebuild our lives. Once again, the island can show its true community spirit by rising to the challenge we face and doing what is required of us. If everyone does what is being asked, we will come through safely. The latest lockdown comes as the Isle of Wight recorded nearly 1,200 new cases in 1 week, taking the rate of infection close to 850 per 100,000 of the population, far greater than the national average of 520 cases per 1,000 population. The island figure had stood at just 20 per 100,000 at the start of last month. Mr. Stewart said, "If our whole community was following the government's guidelines, especially in relation to social distancing, then the number of cases would not be increasing at such a rate. We must continue to protect ourselves from a virus which is now more contagious and between 50 and 70% more transmissible. We know this virus is spread by contact, so if we don't move around and mix, then the virus will not move around either. Our communities have already endured so much hardship, and it's difficult to once again accept the situation we're in. I really feel for the businesses which will be affected by this latest lockdown, and I'd encourage them to take advantage of the existing and new grants to be soon available. We will ensure that grant applications are dealt with as quickly as possible. With the announcement that schools must close, rest assured we will continue to support them so that our children and young people can access high-quality education, albeit from home. Our priority is educating our young people, but this must be done with the safety of school staff, pupils and their parents at the forefront of our minds. We can't allow this virus to completely overwhelm our hospital, especially when there's so much hope on the horizon with the scaling up of the vaccination programme. Perhaps more than ever before, the behaviour of every single one of us will make the difference. By making these big sacrifices, we can give the NHS critical time and space to do what it does best, and to also deliver the vaccination programme. National restrictions, while strict, have been shown to bring infection rates down much faster than other courses of action. It gives us all the opportunity to review and reset our behaviours and do the right things for our family and friends. I ask everyone to follow the new rules, stay at home, and continue to follow the hands, face, space instruction. It's the only way to keep the island safe. For more information on COVID-19, visit Keep the Island Safe website. Labour's Richard Quigley said, "I believe people have, in the main, tried their best to follow the rules. The problem has been the constant promise of relaxation of the guidelines. Firstly, the announcement that we would be able to have a normal Christmas, and being placed in Tier 1 on the island made us all think we'd beaten the virus. Sadly, that's not the case. We need to avoid blaming each other and go back to the massive effort we all made back in March. It's the job of leaders and politicians to make sure following the rules is easier than breaking them."
This is Den reading an article from Isle of Wight Radio. Isle of Wight road improvements to continue during lockdown. Work to repair and improve roads on the Isle of Wight will continue during lockdown. Island roads has said that schemes such as work on Skew and Arlesford Road footbridges over the railway line between Lake and Shanklin and essential highways maintenance is permitted and will continue. However, as a result of the lockdown and the sharp rise in local cases, more support staff, including those usually based at Island Road's contact centre, are working from home, which means residents are being advised to report highways issues at islandroads.com or email info@islandroads.com. Stephen Ashman, Island Roads Service Director, said, "As always, safety remains our absolute priority, and we continue to take our responsibilities to managing the effects of the pandemic very seriously. As in previous lockdowns, we will continue our work to ensure roads and surrounding areas are properly maintained so that the key people who need to get to work, especially our NHS staff and emergency services, are able to do so without delay or increased road risk. Our employees, defined as key workers by the government, will also continue their critical roles carrying out important tasks like repairing road defects, gritting roads, keeping the streets clean and bins emptied, as well as keeping the traffic signals and street lights working. Our work falls within the construction sector, where government advice is to continue with these activities. We have followed this advice and have adapted our activities to comply with Public Health England guidelines. For example, we continue to operate different shift patterns to minimise contact between staff. We have maintained additional safety briefings, and we've also ensured staff have the required PPE. Mr Ashman said Island Roads continues to keep a close eye on government advice and would adjust activity as necessary in line with any changes to guidance. He added, "We have already shown we are able to continue to operate effectively during COVID restrictions. The St Mary's Junction improvement work was delivered on schedule despite 2 lockdowns. So, as we enter another full lockdown, I would like to place on record my thanks to our staff and our supply chain partners for all their continued hard work and dedication. I would also like to assure residents that we will continue to work safely and diligently to provide the highway service they rely upon."
This is an article from Isle of Wight Radio, read by Terry. Islanders warned about new coronavirus scams. People on the Isle of Wight are being warned about 2 new scams doing the rounds on the island. Trading Standards has said it is receiving increasing reports of a worrying scam that appears to be targeting anyone and everyone. The scammers are again using the coronavirus to con people into parting with money and details. The latest scam is an official-looking text purporting to be from the NHS saying that you need to book a vaccination appointment. This will then take you to a fake NHS form which will ask for bank details to prove your identity. This is a scam. The NHS will never ask for a person's banking information, so do not provide it. The second scam comes in the form of a survey on social media, initially reported from the mainland. The scam purports to be authorised by the local authority and alleges to find out how residents are coping with the COVID-19 situation. Participants are requested to provide their personal details and are offered a payment of £25 for taking part. It is believed that by giving bank details for the payment, the scammers will have access to their bank accounts and can take money from them. Be very wary of any links you click on social media and never give information in this way.
Alison reading an article from On the Wight entitled Council Officers Put Forward Recommendations for Fatal Forest Road Junction. A report is going to the Isle of Wight Council Cabinet meeting next week with recommendations for the junction at Forest Road, which saw a fatal collision 2 years ago. No traffic lights, but move a hedge is the recommended option to improve a junction following a fatal crash nearly 2 years ago. In April 2019, a 3-vehicle crash on Forest Road, Newport, took the life of Yvonne Copeland, 64. A car failed to give way on Whitehouse Road, hitting a bus, which tried to avoid the impact by swerving onto the other side of the road, causing a head-on collision with another car. The driver of the first car, Yashmi Ravikumar, 20, was sentenced to serve 2 years and 4 months detention in a young offenders institution after it was found her driving and lack of attention caused the fatal incident. In the aftermath of the crash, a petition was launched which gained nearly 7,000 signatures, calling for the Isle of Wight Council to install traffic lights on the crossroads in a bid to improve safety and prevent further collisions. Accident data from the Isle of Wight Council and Island Roads show there is a high probability of a crash occurring at that junction at least once every year, and it is likely that between 25 and 50% of those accidents could kill or seriously injure someone. In the last 5 years, 7 recorded collisions have happened at the junction, 1 fatal and 3 serious, with 6 of those collisions involving vehicles exiting Whitehouse Road onto Forest Road. Forest Road, the main strategic route from Newport to the West Wight, is thought to be used by approximately 10,000 vehicles a day, and its junction with Whitehouse Road is currently in the top 10 potential safety schemes on the island's Highway Safety and Improvement Register. A report going to the Isle of Wight Council's Cabinet next week, which has reviewed the petition and outlines potential improvement to the junction following a full technical assessment, said any improvement to road safety will positively impact the Council's objective of protecting the island community. The recommendation of the report, however, goes against what was asked for in the petition, the installation of traffic signals, and instead opts for a scheme to be fully designed and costed for realigning a hedge, which would improve the visibility of the junction when entering Forest Road from Whitehouse Road. It also recommended to specifically add the site into the island-wide strategic speed review currently underway, potentially reducing the speed of Forest Road at this location. The report says, the Highways Safety Inspector has determined that installation of traffic signals may not reduce the risk of conflict at the junction and could increase the number of collisions due to rear-end shunts. The request for a signalised junction has been discounted due to the likely increase in the number of collisions, the rural nature of the junction, and other factors present in this location. The Council report says there is a public perception risk of not acting on the intent of the petition due to the risks associated with the requested traffic light scheme. But the recommendation is based on technical advice and standard methodologies. It is thought the installation of signals at this junction could cost between £400,000 and £600,000, not including ongoing maintenance costs. In defence of not recommending the installation of traffic lights, the report also looks at the safety scheme devised for the Fighting Cocks junction in Arreton, which had a higher collision rate than the Forest Road and Whitehouse Road junction. While not directly comparable, the collision rate at the Arreton junction was brought down to a 10-year accident average of 0.2 accidents occurring per year from 3.2, without installing traffic lights. However, in the technical investigation report by Island Roads, the Highways Network Authority's final recommendations are to undertake feasibility designs for both a signal control junction, which would greatly reduce the risk of collision, and a roundabout at the junction to lower accidents by 50% and significantly lessen the probability of future fatal or serious injury-causing accidents. The decision as to whether to follow the recommendation and realign the view-obstructing hedge will be made by the Isle of Wight Council's Cabinet on Thursday the 14th of January. To read the full reports by the Isle of Wight Council and Island Roads, you can view both through the agenda for the meeting on the Council's website.
Hello, this is Lisa, CEO of Sight for Wight, welcoming you to this week's Talking News, and indeed the first Talking News of 2021. It saddens me that we are still not back to our old routine of activities, talking news and face-to-face meetings. But as always, the safety of our volunteers, staff and members had to come first. Many things have changed for all of us in the last year, with face-to-face meetings completely stopped for 9 months now. However, the last year has allowed us to continue in helping support people, so I would like to take a moment to look back. During 2020, we have looked very closely at what we do and how we do it. We have rewritten our entire strategy, ensuring member needs are at the forefront of every single thing we do. Our new mission, vision, aims and strategies are embedded in our work, ensuring we remain fully focused on one core objective in everything we do, our members. Our document of all services and support available to visually impaired people on the island, overlaid against a map of needs, is taking shape, and we are much better equipped to help people quicker and more effectively without duplication and wasting valuable resources. Our new befriending network is now underway and has been very well received by volunteers and members alike. Our new Alexa skill to put all Sight for Wight information in a voice-enabled device is coming on nicely. To listen to Talking News, we have a sample skill set up already. Please note this is not the full skill, it is simply a sample skill to show you a very basic newsletter. To listen to the latest newsletters on the skill, you can enable this on your Alexa device. Please say the following words in this exact order. Alexa, enable the Sight for Wight skill. I repeat, that is, Alexa, enable the Sight for Wight skill. Once open, you can play the current newsletter by saying play, or previous newsletters by saying previous. Once you have opened a newsletter, you can then skip between tracks by saying next and previous. Please remember, this is a very basic pilot skill. This is not the full version, but feel free to try it. We have funding in place to distribute Alexa devices to our members, including a mobile Wi-Fi dongle if needed to provide internet connectivity. Any member can contact us to talk about this on 522205. That is Sight for Wight on 522205. Last year also saw the introduction of our new Hello Everyone. This is the Sight for Wight audible QR codes. We are all now very used to scanning QR codes with the NHS track and trace. However, we have set up our own version. Any letter we now produce, any publication, is read out by one of our volunteers and put behind a QR code. Any smartphone with internet connectivity can then scan the QR code and you can hear that publication in a human voice. We have already got these installed into Hover Travel and Newport Police Station, as well as on all of our own publications. I'm also in talks with Guide Dogs, the Isle of Wight Council and several other ferry companies and commercial partners. We hope to roll this out across the country as soon and quickly as we can. We want people to be able to hear what other people can read. In October, we were delighted our apprentice Jasmine moved into full-time employment with us as our young person and education manager. Jasmine has two roles. Firstly, as the link between families with VI children, and secondly, to fulfil our education outreach programme, teaching every single Isle of Wight primary school child how to look after their eyes and how to make small changes to those with a sight loss condition. to help them. This programme will also raise awareness of the charity. Finally, last year saw the introduction of our new style newsletter. Moving away from reporting and looking back, we are now producing bi-monthly magazines with a story from a volunteer, member and trustee every issue. We have tips and hints and news on the lobbying and work we are doing for the general needs of VI people. The December newsletter celebrated 125 years and looked back at the charity's history, revealing it actually is more likely that we have been the Isle of Wight charity for visually impaired people since 1865, making us 155, not 125 as we thought. Either way, we are the oldest working island charity, and we intend to make sure we are here in another 155 years, providing the right support at the right time for the right people. Thank you very much for listening to this week's Talking News. Lisa, CEO. Stay safe. Hello, this is Lisa, reading a letter sent to many of our members from Guide Dogs. We asked people with sight loss and their families how we can best support and provide information and advice to them, and we wanted to tell you what this means for the way we will offer support to you from 2021 and beyond. From January 2021, you will see an evolution in the way you can contact Guide Dogs, whether you are someone we already support or whether you are coming to us for the first time. All calls and emails to Guide Dogs about our services will now go through one team of expertly trained advisors. So if you are a guide dog owner, someone who uses one of our other services, or a parent of a child with sight loss, or a volunteer in a service-related role, this will replace the existing contact details you have for your local guide dog team. The number and email at the end of this letter are the only ones you will need to contact us about anything. But if you call or email using your local team's details, don't worry. Our technology automatically redirects you to our central teams of advisors. We know that many of you will be used to speaking directly with your local teams, and we want to assure you that these relationships are incredibly valuable to us. Your local team will still be responsible for supporting you on the ground in the way that they always have, whether that's through guide dog training or habilitation or life skills, or in any other way. We want to answer your questions quickly and efficiently, providing vital advice and information when you need it. The best way to do this is through a dedicated expert team, which means our local team can spend as much time as possible supporting people in the community. This evolution allows us to be consistent in how we offer support across the country. So even though the person you may speak to may change, you know you are getting the same level of service. It also gives us a huge opportunity to learn and grow. The COVID-19 information line we set up earlier this year showed us how we could support more people in this way, and it would be a missed opportunity not to build on this. We can also capture what the people we support are asking of us and use this information to improve the services we offer. We are in the process of finalising our expert team, who will be trained in all the specialisms you would previously have expected from your local guide dog team, such as dog welfare. However, where an inquiry needs further expertise, they will act as a key referral point. We look forward to getting your feedback on this important evolution on the way Guide Dogs supports more and more people with sight loss. If you have any queries, please contact information@guidedogs.org.uk. In summary, from January 2021, Guide Dogs may be contacted on 0800 78 11 444. That is 0800 78 11 444, or by email to information@guidedogs.org.uk. Letter signed, Peter Osborne, Director of Operations.
Scaffolding news for week commencing the 11th of January 2021. Ride area 11, 12, the Esplanade. 16, Park Road. Sandown area 2, Pier Street. Wight City Culver Parade, Corkheads Restaurant, Avenue Road. Freshwater area, 3A Clarence Building, The Avenue. Shanklin area, Old Thatch Tea Rooms, 4 Church Road. Yarmouth area, King's Head, Quay Street. Newport area, Halifax, High Street. Ventnor area, 1 Eleanor House, Grove Road. Tip news for week commencing the 11th of January 2021. Seaview area, outside of Woodlands, Ryde Road, Seaview. Yarmouth area, Loveshaw House, High Street, Yarmouth. Grassmere, Graham Road, Yarmouth. Wootton area, 8 Glebe Gardens, Wootton. Cowes area, 72 High Street, Cowes.
Sight for Wight would like to thank you for listening to this week's edition of the Talking News. We would also like to thank our volunteers for reading, and a particular thank you to the Isle of Wight County Press, On the Wight, Island Echo, Isle of Wight Radio and Vectis Radio. Happy New Year.